Chapter Guild, Stories for Your Mind.
Before the Scattering. Chapter 1. I still remember the sound Abel's blood made when it hit the ground. You wouldn't think blood has a sound, but it does, especially the first time. Especially when the earth isn't used to receiving it yet. The ground recoiled, actually recoiled, and then God asked Cain where his brother was, and Cain looked him straight in the eye and lied. I don't understand it. I don't understand any of it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to know how it started. Not with Cain, but before. Back when everything was new and nothing had died yet. Back when I thought I understood what God was doing. I was wrong about a lot of things. Let me start at the beginning. The real beginning. Before humans. Before Earth had form. I was there when he spoke light into existence. You have to understand. I'd seen him create before. Stars, galaxies, the vast stretches between them. But those felt like declarations, statements of power. This was different. The darkness was complete, absolute, the kind of dark that presses against you. And then he said one word, and it split. Actually split. Light tearing through darkness like it had been waiting for permission. I've never heard silence shatter before. That's what it sounded like. The sound hit us before the light did, a crack that rolled through everything. Then the brightness came, and I had to turn away. When I looked again, light and darkness were separating into something that had rhythm. Evening, morning, day one. He's making time, Hazel whispered beside me. I hadn't thought of it that way, but he was right. Before this, there was just existence. Now there were days, things that had beginnings and endings. I should have paid more attention to that. The next days were stranger still. Waters above, waters below. Land rising from the deep like something breathing for the first time. I watched mountains fold upward, valleys press down. The whole earth groaning and settling into shape. Then came the plants. I know how that sounds. Plants aren't impressive compared to stars or oceans. But I was standing on a hillside when the first grass pushed through the soil. One moment, bare ground. The next, green everywhere, spreading like a wave. Trees erupting from nothing, branches reaching, leaves unfurling. Fruit trees heavy with fruit before there was anyone to eat it. Who's going to harvest all this? I asked. Hazel didn't answer. He was staring at a fig tree, watching it grow from seedling to full height in moments. His expression was the same one I'd seen on his face during battles, trying to understand the strategy, the purpose. On the fifth day, the waters filled with life. Fish in sizes I didn't know were possible. Birds that figured out flight in their first moments of existence. I watched a hawk learn to ride the wind, and I thought about how long it had taken me to master moving through the upper regions. This creature knew instantly. By the sixth day, when the animals came, the ones that walked on the land, I finally asked him directly. Lord, who is this for? God smiled. Actually smiled at me. You'll see, he said. On the seventh day, he stopped. Not because he was tired. God doesn't get tired. But he stopped anyway, and the stillness that settled over everything wasn't empty. It was full. Like the silence between notes in a song. He looked at what he'd made, all of it, and he was satisfied. Not finished, exactly. Satisfied. And he made the stopping part of the making, like rest was built into the design of things. Then he knelt down in the dirt. That's what stopped all of us. The entire host went silent. God had spoken everything else into existence. Words and power and instant results. But now he was on the ground, hands in the dust, shaping. Working the clay like a potter. I could see his fingers pressing, forming the care he was taking with every detail. "What is he making?" someone whispered behind me. I didn't know. It looked like an animal at first. The basic form, the limbs, the structure. But the longer he worked, the more I realized it was something else. The proportions were wrong for any creature we'd seen. Upright, hands that could grasp, a face that... I can't explain what I saw in that face, even before it had life. It was like looking at a reflection of something I recognized but couldn't name. God sat back, studying his work. The figure lay there in the dust, perfect in form but empty. Lifeless. Then God leaned close. So close, his face nearly touched the clay. And he breathed. Not a word, not a command. Breath. I could see it leave him and enter the clay, and for a moment everything went still. The wind stopped. The animals paused. Even the light seemed to hold itself in place. The man's chest expanded. Color spread through his skin. His fingers twitched. His eyes opened. And I saw something in those eyes that I'd never seen in any creature before. Not just awareness. Not just instinct. He was looking at God, really seeing him. And God was looking back with an expression I'd never seen on his face. Delight. Pure delight. "What is he?" I asked Hazel. Hazel's voice was quiet, uncertain. "I don't know. But the Lord looks at him the way he looks at us." That couldn't be right. This creature was made from dirt. We were made from light, from his direct word and power. But Hazel wasn't wrong about the look. God helped the man stand, steadied him, spoke to him. The man responded. Not with our language, but God understood him anyway. Michael's voice cut through our confusion. The Lord calls him Adam, made in the image of God. He will tend the garden, image of God. I looked at this dirt creature with his fragile skin and mortal frame, and I tried to understand what that meant. I'm still trying. God walked with Adam in the garden. I'd been assigned to watch over the eastern boundary. The cherubim weren't posted yet. There was nothing to guard against. So I saw them together most evenings. God would come in the cool of the day, and they'd walk, talk. God would show Adam something, a tree, a spring, how the light fell through the leaves, and Adam would respond with this wonder that made God smile. It should have made sense to me, but it didn't. God had created billions of stars, and I'd never seen him walk among them. He'd made the vast depths of the oceans and never strolled along the bottom. But here, in this garden with this one dirt creature, he walked. Like a father with his son. Like friends. One day God brought all the animals to Adam. Birds, livestock, wild beasts, everything that moved. Adam's task was to name them. I watched him work through them. He'd study each creature, see something in its nature, and speak its name. The names fit. You could hear what each animal was in the word Adam chose. God stood back, letting him work, and I swear he looked proud. But as the day went on, I noticed something. Adam would name a pair, male and female, and they'd walk off together. Birds with birds, cattle with cattle. Each creature had another like itself. When the last animal was named, Adam sat down in the grass. God sat beside him. "They all have companions," Adam said quietly. God didn't answer right away. He just sat there with Adam in the silence, and I realized he already knew. This wasn't a surprise. This was something else, something planned. "It is not good for the man to be alone," God said. I leaned forward without meaning to. Not good? But Adam had God. He walked with God every day. How could he be alone? "Do you understand it?" I asked Hazel later when we were back at our posts. "Understand what?" he said. "How he can be alone. He has God." Hazel was quiet for a moment. Maybe it's different for them. They're made different than we are. "Made from dirt," I said. made in his image. Hazel shrugged. Maybe the image needs something we don't. I didn't have an answer for that. I still don't. God put Adam into a deep sleep. I'd never seen a human sleep before. His breathing slowed, his body went still, but it wasn't like death. There was no death yet. It was something in between. Vulnerable, peaceful, trusting. God knelt beside him, and I watched his hand hover over Adam's side. Hesitate. Not from uncertainty. From care. Like he was about to do something precious and didn't want to rush it. Then he reached in. I don't know how else to describe it. Adam's flesh opened without tearing, without blood. God's hands moved with the same careful attention I'd seen when he shaped Adam from the clay. He drew something out. Bone and tissue, the essence of what made Adam who he was. He held it gently in his hands. He closed Adam's side. The flesh sealed itself, a scar forming where God's hands had been. Then he began to build again. This took longer than Adam's creation. God worked slowly, deliberately, shaping the bone into a new form. Similar to Adam, but different. Softer curves, different proportions. His hands moved slowly, shaping something irreplaceable. I couldn't look away. None of us could. The form took shape. Arms, legs, torso, face. She was smaller than Adam, but there was a strength in the structure that surprised me. God spent a long time on her face, the curve of her cheek, the line of her jaw. Finally, he stepped back and looked at what he'd made. Then he breathed, her eyes opened. She didn't look around confused like Adam had. Her eyes went straight to God's face, and she smiled. Actually smiled, like she recognized him. Like she'd been waiting to meet him. God helped her stand, steadied her while she found her balance. She looked down at herself, at her hands, then back at God. She said something. I was too far to hear the words, but her voice had a different music than Adam's. God laughed. I'd heard him laugh before, but not like this. This was delight layered on delight, joy multiplied. God woke Adam gently, a hand on his shoulder, a quiet word. Adam's eyes opened slowly. He sat up, touched his side where the scar was, looked confused. Then he saw her. He went completely still. She stood a few paces away, watching him with that same smile she'd given God. Curious, but not afraid. Waiting. Adam stared at her like he was seeing something impossible. His hand went to his chest, right over his heart, like he was checking if it was still there. Then he stood, so fast he almost stumbled, and took a step toward her. Stopped. Looked at God, then back at her. Is she? His voice cracked. He couldn't finish the question. God nodded. Bone of your bone, he said. Flesh of your flesh. Adam's eyes filled with tears. But he was smiling. He moved toward her. Slow now. When he reached her, he didn't touch her right away. He just looked. At her face, her hands, the way she stood. She tilted her head, studying him the same way. Then she reached out and touched the scar on his side. Adam caught his breath. You came from me, he whispered. You're part of me. But you're not me. He couldn't say anything else. Neither could I. She took his hand and pressed it to her chest, right over her heart. Mirror image of where he'd touched his own. God was watching them, and I was watching him. Whatever he'd been waiting for, I think this was it. This is very good, God said quietly. I didn't know then what it was going to cost him to keep it that way.